God always helps us, but doesn't appear to us. Since God always helps us, let us not focus only on the visible world, but strive to walk with God in the invisible world. Let's take a look at Exodus chapter 17 together. The 40-year journey of the Israelites in the wilderness is a lesson for us. It prophesies and teaches us about how we should live while walking in the desert of faith. Let's take a look at Exodus chapter 17, verse 9. Shall we read from verse 8? The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, "Choose some of our men and go out to fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands." So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning, but whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. It shows Joshua's battle against the Amalekites at Rephidim. Here, Joshua is fighting in the front line. Moses is supporting him from behind. And God grants such power to Moses. We must think about this relationship. No matter how experienced and wise Joshua was, everything became meaningless when Moses lowered his hands. To be precise, it is not the act of Moses raising or lowering his hands that is crucial, but the invisible power of God that dictates the outcome of the battle based on whether Moses' hands were raised or lowered. Let's take a look at Exodus chapter 14, verse 10. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians'? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert." Moses answered the people, "Do not be afraid, stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water, so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground." In the visible world, Moses stretched out his staff over the sea. However, in the invisible world, God drove the sea back and divided the waters as soon as Moses stretched out his staff. Also, let us think about David's story. When the young boy David defeated Goliath, if God had not been with him, do you think the young David would have been able to defeat Goliath, whom even the generals feared? Was there any law that dictated the stone from the sling must hit exactly on the forehead? It carried the probability of 1 in a million. It was impossible. However, since God was with him, how could the stone possibly miss? Therefore, as we are walking the path of faith in the gospel, we should not only strive to excel outwardly, to be seen by others in the visible world, but also remember that God is always watching over us and walks with us in the invisible world, rejoicing whenever we diligently walk in the right path of the gospel. I sincerely ask that all of us remember God, who is always with us, and be able to finish the race of walking in the desert of faith, so that we can enter the spiritual Canaan, the eternal kingdom of heaven, without lacking anything.